Mr. Whitfield, what is the most important issue facing Whitfield County schools, and how will that impact our property tax?
Okay, after having talked with a lot of our school personnel around the county, one of the biggest things that I've seen so far is the actual schools are. The buildings are in bad shape, particularly if you get to the middle school level. I've seen pictures of snakes in the building. They have problems with sewage as well. If it ever rains, that's not something we should have. The problem with how it would affect everybody. That's what everybody needs to think carefully about when we start looking at that issue. I don't want everybody to put all their eggs in one basket and just say, oh, we'll get these plots, we'll do something. That's it. That's our answer. We need to look at a multifaceted approach.
Thank you, Mr. Whitfield. As voters now consider you for a position of the public's trust, what prior civic involvement and other efforts have you served a part which you feel qualifies you for the office that you're running for?
Okay, well, I've been in law enforcement here in this county for 28 years. I'm a member of the Rotary. I've also worked with the redistricting for our school system last time that was done. I've served on committees to search for coaches for the schools. I've been a booster for the schools. I have been president of the Booster Association for Nola. I've participated in Northwest as well.
Now you have to read for closing statements.
Okay, in closing, to kind of introduce you to me a little bit, if you don't know me, I have a wife, Letha. I have my son Storm, daughter Presley. We have another bonus child, Carla, adopted child. I've lived in this community all my life. I attended the city school system here. My children all went to the county system. So I've seen both of those. I also teach at Long State College. I've been teaching criminal justice there for about 15 years. And I have a master's in public administration, which I feel is going to be very useful to this and trying to guide everyone to a good solution.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chip Whitfield.
Good evening. Thank you so much to the Republican Party for having this event this evening. I appreciate it. And thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but my name is Shell Underwood, and I'm running for County Commissioner Seat 2. I'm a wife. My husband, Anthony Underwood, is in the back supporting me here tonight, and some of you might have been wondering where he's been, but several years ago he had to seek a job outside of our county because he lost his job here locally. I'm a mother of 3 children, and I am a veteran, and I was a teacher for 12 years in the Dalton metro area. Several years ago, I decided that I wanted to do something more for my community, and I didn't know what it was. And I felt God calling me to move in that direction, but like so many of us, we tell him no, and we're kind of comfortable in our jobs, and teaching was a very good fit for me, and I loved it very much, and I didn't want to move. And I decided eventually to answer that calling and go just take a leap of faith, and I just quit. I opened up a modern living business a year ago in April, and I work with people on a day-to-day basis on managing their budgets so that they can meet their needs of today while still providing for their future. And so in that venture, I became a member of the Chamber of Commerce and was asked to join their leadership Dalton. And I learned a lot of stuff that was going on in our local community. And I also met with small business leaders on a regular basis in order to make sure that I knew what was going on in our community. And in that process, I found out a lot of things going on in our local government that I wasn't really excited about, including the fact that we're $2.9 million in debt. Time.
Question for you,
Yes.
Mrs. Underwood. Mrs. Underwood, what would you do differently than the incumbent that will improve the lives of the citizens of Whitfield County?
So the first first thing that I really would like to do in order to improve the lives of the citizens of Whitfield County is to implement a finance committee, or re-implement that finance committee. Taxpayers have the right to find out how their money is being spent, and as commissioner, we have a duty to have good stewardship of your money. We're constantly being told by the incumbents that they have implemented progress that we can trust, and we've been assured budget cuts. We've been assured that the budget has been cut as tight as it can be. However, we just found out a couple of weeks ago that we're spending millions of dollars in positions that could have been cut before the election season started. I want to reduce debt in our county. Currently, we have to incur a tax anticipation note every year in order to receive money for SPLOST that we haven't received yet.
Okay, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
I'm running for county commissioner because I want to make a difference in our community. I want to do something different for Whitfield County citizens. I'm energetic. I have a passion for our community. I love our community. There's a huge lack of transparency currently, and it's not intentional. I know that our county wants to be good stewards of our money, and I want to help them do that. I want to restore the finance committee, and if you want a fiscal conservative, vote for Shell Underwood on May 24th for County Commissioner seat 2.
It's like the same crowd I've been at before. Everybody's smiling faces, just dying to get. I am Harold Brooker. I am running for re-election. This will be my, if I get elected, it'll be 24 years from the county board of commissioners. When I first took office in '71, we were, in March, we had to borrow money to finance Whitfield County. You'd think, well, $4 million budget, how much you had to borrow? We had to borrow a lot. My goal when I was there to get out of debt, and we have not borrowed money and carried it forward in the last 40 years. So we need to keep that. What I think we need to do in Whitfield County is do balance a budget, but you've got things that you've got to obligate yourself to do. We've got elected officials, we've got to honor them. They're elected by you, and we have to get their budget and squeeze them too, just like everything else. So if you see fit, I am running for re-election, and I am Harold Brooker.
Mr. Brooker, we have a question for you. What would you do differently in your next term from the past to help improve the lives of the people in Whitfield County, sir?
I would like to go in and say we have no tax for county government. If you look at your tax rate, 80% or 78% is schools. We only have 30% government tax to run Whitfield County. That's fire department, the judges, the jail, the sheriff's department. And I think we run a pretty lean ship. Yes, we do have a tax allocation though. What that is, we cannot go in November and let people not have any payroll until the taxes come in December. So we have to borrow it, but by law, you've got to pay it back by December.
Mr. Brooker, you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
I am Harold Brooker, and I am running for re-election. I have spent 25 years as Whitfield County fireman, the old Pleasant Road back in the 70s. I've ran houses that were burned up and all that, and I'm proud of our fire department. We have got a good fire department. I'd like to see Whitfield County Fire Department go to an all-man unit, or if you call, you can have somebody at your house. You don't need a fire department till your house burns like ours did in '58. So you need that emergency vehicle, just like ambulances, you need them, you need everything. The sheriff's department, you've got to have them, and you've got to have them on payroll. You can't just get them on a volunteer basis. So if you see fit, maybe 24. Let me, Harold Brooker. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, in your opinion, what is one of the most important issues facing Whitfield County?
Well, I'll definitely respect the spirit of the question and limit it to just one issue, but if you don't mind, I'd like to show how everything is kind of interrelated, especially in an economy like ours. So I think the most important thing is the lack of opportunities and good paying jobs for our families, and also even for our new graduates that are forced to go to Chattanooga or Atlanta to find opportunities. It doesn't matter if you're looking at people with 2 jobs that can't make ends meet, people with no job. If you look at the number of kids that are on the free lunch program, at 71% of all the kids in Whitfield County, no matter what statistic you use, I think there's a lack of opportunities in jobs. So if you look at that thread, to me that thread runs down to the Carbondale Business Park. So we paid way too much for that park 6.5, 7 years ago. It's completely empty still, and we had to borrow a lot of money for that. And so that's where you start with the lack of opportunities, and I have a plan to come up with some new ideas to try and win some businesses for down there. So that thread from the Carbondale Business Park leads to our budget, which is $2.9 million deficit. And again, the bonds that we actually took out affected the interest rate there.
Second question, as voters now consider you, Mr. Jensen, for a position of the public's trust, what prior civic involvement and/or efforts have you served a part that you feel best qualifies you for the seat that you seek?
In the civic area? Well, I've been focused on the business area for sure for the last 15 years right here in Dalton. But if you look at the civic, I'm a member of Dalton First United Methodist Church. I've been on the music committee, the broadcast committee. I've been involved in United Way, distribution panel for that, and several other charities as well.
You have a few minutes for your closing statement, Mr. Jensen.
I believe I'm uniquely qualified to be your next county commissioner. If you look at in my business slide, I've managed a budget of tens of millions of dollars, which is very similar in size to Whitfield County government. I lead a team of 150 people, which is similar in size to the largest department at Whitfield County. Also, I've negotiated literally hundreds of contracts in my job, which I believe will help with the deficit. No matter how good a contract is, you can always find a way to get a better term, a better price out of it. And finally, for the last 20 years, I've been meeting with CEOs and CFOs, not just of local companies, but of Fortune 500 companies. I know the language that they speak, I know what they want to hear, and that's how we can win some business down at Parkdale, because those are the kind of people we need to be speaking with. And I will go anywhere and do anything to bring those jobs and those new businesses to Whitfield County. So I just want to let you know that if I'm elected and you join me, Whitfield County will be open for business. Thank you.
Mr. Jensen. In your opinion, what is the most important issue facing Whitfield?
Balancing our budget. We can't keep spending money we don't have. We can't keep spending more than we bring in. And we got to figure out how to cut our budget and how to spend more than that. It's hard to do it at home.
Second question for you, Mr. Jones. As voters now consider you for a position of public trust, what prior civic involvement and efforts have you served a part which you feel best qualifies you for the office that you serve?
Well, I was a commissioner before, and I think that amounts to a whole lot. There's a lot of things that people don't understand, and I don't belong in any city organizations. I don't belong to the chain. I'm a member of the Salem Baptist Church in Westside. I did have myself help bring in the miracle field and get it going.
Mr. Jones, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
I'm Greg Jones. I'm the Commissioner, District 4. I've lived here all my life. Family's lived here all their lives. And I love Whitfield County. I hope I die in Whitfield County. My kids live here. I hope they want to stay here the rest of their lives. So I just want to make Whitfield County better. And also an affordable place to live. And we need to better jobs. We need diversification. And we got to keep working on our trade.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
All right, we'll lead off.
Mr. Shifley, what will be the first thing on your agenda if you are elected chairman?
Well, you've heard it numerous times tonight. The budget is the issue that's there. I mean, it's obvious. You read in the paper. All of the other candidates have talked about it. So, you know, the financial transparency in the county, I think we can improve our budget process in the county. We do need to get that $2.9 million reined in. There's a lot of things going on in the county government, as Greg mentioned. You know, look where we stand here. Here's where we want to fix it as a community. And this is the beginnings of the carpet industry, a homegrown industry that puts Georgia on the map. Entrepreneurship is a must for this area. And, you know, to do that, this area has to have a climate that is open for business, a climate that is receptive to young people. My oldest son, Caleb, is here with me. He's a finance major, will be attending West Georgia. And I want him, when he graduates, and his younger brother, if they want to live here, it's not because Stacy and Chris live here, but because there are opportunities here. So economic development and getting a good control on our budget process, those are the two things that have to be done right off the bat.
And Mr. Shipley, as voters now consider you the public's trust, what prior civic involvement and efforts have you served a part which you think qualifies you for the commission chief chairman you would?
We've lived in a couple of different parts of the county. We lived in the Highland Forest, Marnell area for a little over 10 years. We lived out in the West Side for 8 years. We moved here in the mid-90s, and I've always worked in the community bank here in town. Martial law officer, I've been part of many business startups. I've almost been a partner with people as they run their businesses. That's a big thing for me, is entrepreneurship. But shortly after arriving here, I was I volunteered for United Way. I was on the allocation panel committee. I was the chair of that panel. I was former chairman of Junior Achievement. Helped them kind of transition into where they are now. I've coached how many ball teams? Many. All the way from 5-year-old ball up to high school with both of my boys. I've been involved with a couple of churches here locally. We're currently members of Thumb Hill First Baptist Church. I've just been involved in a wide array of activities here in the community. I've been a volunteer. We've hosted Bible studies out at home. Just been a part of the community in many different areas.
Okay, Mr. Shipley, we have 2 minutes for your closing.
Sure. Stacy and I moved here in 1995. I've got a degree in finance from Jacksonville State University, a graduate degree in banking from Louisiana State. My wife teaches 3rd grade at Marnell Elementary School. Both of my children are public school students here. One is graduated, one is currently in high school. I heard it tonight. I really care about it. Whitfield County, as we move out of this decade, we look forward. I heard a coach tell me a long time ago, leadership is something that is hard to define. You know it when you see it, and you sure know it when it's not present. And leadership is what I plan on bringing as the chairman for the Whitfield County Board of Commissioners. I spent the last 25 years leveraging relationships, building relationships, and I plan to utilize those all across the county, not just in unincorporated Whitfield County, but the municipalities and certainly the city of Dalton, to create a common vision for this community, because we've got to have one. We've got to pull in the same direction. I've got the ability to do that. It's kind of what I am. I'm kind of like a coach, but I don't actually have a ball team to coach, and it's very similar to that. And we just got to look forward and work together. And my business experience, my personal business experience, I'm owning and operating a business with nearly 50 employees. All of those things together, I think, will help me be the right choice for commissioner. And you guys go and vote in a couple of weeks. I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mrs. Lauder,
You can compliment him.
then what will be the first thing on your agenda when you're elected chairman of Whitfield County?
Well, as you all know, I've been commissioner for District 4. This is my 4th year. So one thing I would not have to do is learn how to be a commissioner. I traveled around the state that first year in a couple of months and took the 9 courses I needed to take to become a certified county commissioner. You think you know what this is all about, but you don't really know until you get in there. I asked for a finance committee last year, and in our most recent our most recent planning session, we decided that all 5 commissioners needed to be involved. So we're implementing a work session on the 4th Monday of every month so that we can talk all of us about the finance issues, because that is one of our biggest concerns. I'll continue to work on economic development as hard as I have already, because
IDC coming here, Jackson Paper and Engineered Floors has brought a lot of jobs. I would continue to work on the fire stations. We are building one in the north end of the county. We gotta have one in the south end of the county to get our ISO ratings down so that our homeowners in the county will pay less insurance premiums. So my focus is going to be on finance and on economic development and on the fire stations and getting us to have a lower ISO rating.
Okay, and your second question, you heard everybody tonight. As voters consider you for the position of public trust, what prior civic involvement and efforts have you served a part that you feel better qualifies you for the seat that you're running for?
I've been very involved in civic duties. I was on the Habitat for Humanity board for 21 years. I served as treasurer for many of those years, kept up with everybody's mortgage payments, paid their taxes, did all that. I was also vice president and president of Habitat. I have been for a long time and currently serve on the investment committee for the Dalton State College Foundation. I was on the Whitfield Education Foundation and served as chair of the Plan Giving Committee. I am very active in my church. I've headed up the budget committee, been on the finance committee, and I'm currently a deacon. And I also have been really involved in Archway. I was the chairman of the local Archway partnership. I have served on the Chamber of Commerce board for 9 years. I was chairman of that board, also treasurer. We had foster children when we first lived here for several years. I have been deeply involved in the community.
Okay, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
You all, I think, have heard us all speak so much. I try to think of fresh things to say every time, but I'm about out of fresh things to say. I have my own business. I'm a certified financial planner, and we manage a good bit of money for individuals helping them plan for the future. I bring that experience to our county government. I'm educated. I have a master's degree from Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Graduate, an MBA from Chicago, Illinois, with concentrations in finance and accounting. So my master's is actually in finance and accounting. Just lots of experience managing other people's money, and we've worked hard on the county budget, and we will continue to do that. So I think that type of experience is important. I'm a family person. I have 3 kids. Of course, they didn't all stay here. One of them did, and I'm very blessed to have that one here. But I have one that lives in Austria, and he's a weapons inspector for the International Atomic Energy Agency. He just called me on Sunday, happy Mother's Day, I'm going to Fukushima in Japan. And that's the place where they had the tsunami, so I'm not too happy about that. But I also have a son that teaches at the University of Tennessee. He's a professor there. So family, God first, church, my involvement there, my financial experience, and my experience as county commissioner. And I would appreciate your vote on May 24th.
Mr. Bates, what is the one most important personal attribute you will bring to the office in the corner?
Well, I have a willingness and a desire to help people. I've been very fortunate in my career to be in positions as an adult that's allowed me to help people. And on a personal level, I've enjoyed that very much. And so the corner, excuse me, has to deal with people during what is one of the most difficult times of their life. And that's when they're having to deal with the loss of love. And so I've been in that position before, and they're never easy. But I have the compassion and the understanding and the willingness to want to help people during those difficult times, and to maybe, at least in that situation, make a difference.
Mr. Bates, as the voters now consider you for a position of public trust, what prior civic involvement and other efforts have you served a part which you feel qualifies you for the office that you seek?
Well, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I'm part of the Marine Corps League here in Dalton. I've got over 20 years of law enforcement experience, most of it southern right here in this community. My family and I were active members of Salem Baptist Church. I work with our WAS program there. I work with our youth program there now. I've coached T-ball up until this year, baseball. Baseball season and campaign season are not coincide, but so let's get it done this year. But I've stayed active in our community. I have a desire to serve our community, and I want to keep serving.
Mr. Bates, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, I'm Greg Bates, and I'm running for Whitfield County. Whitfield County is where I was born and raised. This is where I live, and this is where I work. I have over 20 years of law enforcement experience. That time started when I was in the Marine Corps, and I spent about 18 and a half years at the Dalton Police Department. And during my time in the police department, I started out as a patrol officer, and then I worked my way up, and eventually I became a major crimes investigator. During my time work investigations, I had the opportunity to actually work with and assist the coroner and the medical examiner's office conducting death investigations. Title 45 of our Georgia law is what outlines the duties and obligations of the county coroner. And that law is called the Georgia Death Investigations Act. And I think it's called that for a reason. And when you look at the duties and the obligations of the coroner, there's many things there beyond determining the cause of manner of death. And most of those duties and obligations are investigative related. And I've had the experience of doing a lot of those things. And so I ask that during this week of early voting, or May the 24th, that you vote for experience that matters. And I ask that you vote for me, Greg Bates, elected as your first Republican coroner with it.
Mr. Walker, what is the one most important personal attribute you would bring to the office?
I think a personal attribute that I bring to the office of coroner is communication. Communication is both verbal and nonverbal. Communication is very important in any job that we do or any aspect of our lives. And by being able to communicate on the scene of a death investigation with all the responders on the scene is a very important thing to be able to communicate with the investigators from law enforcement, both local, state, or federal, if they're involved, is an important thing. Also, being able to communicate with the medical examiner, who is a physician. With my medical experience, my medical background, I talk to physicians every day. I speak their lingo. I know what they're looking for. So being able to communicate with the medical examiner is very important as well. Communication with the families. Communication, like I said, it's both verbal and nonverbal. So you have, being able to communicate with them as the process goes on. Also being able to communicate to them with compassion and with sympathy as well are very important things a coroner should be able to have in this office.
Okay, Mr. Walker, as voters now consider you for a position of public's trust, what prior civic involvement or other efforts have you served a part which you feel best qualifies you for the office you seek?
Well, as far as volunteer for civic groups that make me qualified for the coroner's office, that's not a good answer. However, I will say that my family, we're members of Fellowship Baptist Church over in Arcives. I've also, my son's a little bit older now, so he was younger. Of course, we did the coaching T-ball and baseball at an early age, as well as one of the things that I'm very pleased and privileged to do is I'm a member of the Northwest Georgia Honor Guard. With the Honor Guard, I've been doing that for the last 12 years. We travel throughout the state of Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama as well to attend funerals of public safety members and to support their families. We do anything from just simply being there in presence to a full-out funeral detail. I'm also a member of the Northwest Regional Disaster and Response Tactics Team, which I volunteer for as well. We respond out to communities if there's a natural disaster or any type of mass casualty incident that requires a lot of feet on the ground per se in that community, such as the tornadoes and regular that we had 2 years ago.
Okay, Mr. Walker, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, Paul Walker. I'm running for the coroner's office here in Whitfield County. Lifelong resident of Dalton, attended the Dalton Public School Systems and Dalton State College. My public safety career began over 20 years ago, and for the last 15 years I've been a licensed EMT paramedic. And although I'm trained to save lives, I'm no stranger to death and the devastating effects that it has on our community and the families. With the medical training and background that I have, I feel that I make the ideal candidate for the coroner's office. 70% of the cases that the coroner's office works here in Whitfield County are natural deaths, meaning that it is more so a medical investigation than it is a legal investigation. The job of the coroner, or the role of the coroner, is to facilitate the cause and manner of death. And the cause of death is the medical reason why that patient died, and the manner is how that patient died. On May 24th, I ask for your vote. It's a vote for experience that matters, experience that counts, and a vote that makes sense. Thank you.
Bill, what is the one thing that could be improved in the probate court, and how would you go about achieving the improvement?
Thank you, Patrick. One of the most important things that the probate court handles is traffic. All the tickets come into that are issued outside city limits throughout the county are brought to the probate court to be adjudicated. The 80% of the income that the probate court receives is from the payment of fines from traffic citations. Deputies and troopers, many deputies and troopers have talked to me and encouraged me to run because they say that so many cases in traffic and other misdemeanors are being arbitrarily dismissed and thrown out of court, even when defendants involved in those cases admit to violating violating the statutes. One trooper had a lady going down Cleveland Highway 90 miles an hour, and he stopped her. She admitted to going 90 miles an hour on the stand, but the case was dismissed. Under Ray Broderick, he was bringing in a certain amount of money every year for traffic citations, and since then, the amount of money being brought into the court, according to the Board of Commissioners office, has dropped $250,000 a year consistently, and it's because of these tickets being thrown out.
Hey, Phil, the second question. As voters now consider you for a position of public trust, what prior civic involvement and/or efforts have you served a part that you feel best qualifies you for the office you seek?
Well, I'm a member of the Kiwanis Club. I'm also a member of the Rotary Club. This summer, I'm going to join the board as the chairman of one of the committees in the Rotary. But more importantly, on a personal level, my father-in-law lives with us. He is 97, and he is bedridden. He can't roll over, he can't move, he can't feed himself, he can't do anything. We have to do everything for him. He's been with us 4.5 years. He was on hospice when he first came. The doctors thought that he wasn't going to last more than 3 months, and it's been 4.5 years. That is, because of that there are people come to probate court for incompetency hearings on incompetent adults. They also come having cared for someone for a long time who's passed away. Because of the past 4.5 years, I understand the burden of love that they have to carry before they come to court, and I can relate very well to people in that position.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
I've been married 41 years. My wife and I have 4.5 children, have 3 children and 4.5 grandchildren. It's been a long day. Anyway, raising children is another community involvement because it gets you involved in everything. I've been an attorney in Dalton for 28 years. I've been a judge for 18 years, and and started in Tunnel Hill. I'm now a judge in every incorporated city in this county. I have a lot of experience with traffic court and how to handle that, and how to handle the people in those courts. I've also substituted for the current probate judge and for Judge Ray Broderick, judge before her. And I've also substituted for the Superior Court judges during the past 3 years, from 2012 to 2015. They choose one person, one attorney judge to substitute for them when they're out of town 2 weeks out of the year for mandatory training. And they chose me to do that for the previous 3 years. And I'm asking you to do the same and choose me to be your next probate judge, and I'll be honored to serve you. Thank you.
Sherry? What is the one thing that you could improve on in the probate court? And how would you go about achieving that improvement?
All right. First of all, I want to address what Mr. Woodward said in his comment about the money issue in traffic court, because that's how he responded to the first question, was about traffic. And he's telling you that revenues are down, and in fact they are down. We went through a recession. People don't have money, and when they come to probate court, they tell me, I have no way to pay a fine. So we work with those people, get them to perform community service. Everybody has lost jobs, and I just want you to understand that it's not that I am not charging people money, it's that people don't have money, and they need to be treated fairly. And so I wanted to address that first. The one thing that is the most important thing that I think I can improve on is me. I work hard. I read every appellate opinion that comes out that deals with the jurisdiction that probate court has. I avail myself of all the training offered by the state. I've taken DUI field sobriety training from Lieutenant Stevens of the Whitfield County Sheriff's Office, and I've been tasked with teaching other judges and clerks. And so I find that my training is of vast importance. Now, I've got other things, but I know my time's probably up at this point.
We have another question for you, Sherry.
All right.
That's what we do.
Okay.
As voters now consider you for a position of public trust, what prior civic involvement and other efforts have you served a part that you feel best qualifies you for the office that you're looking for?
All right. I'm a member of Grove Level Baptist Church, have been since 1986 when I came to Dalton. I was a member of the Cherokee Estate Planning Council for estate planners, lawyers, accountants, financial planners. Those people, we all got together to talk about probate matters. I am a graduate of Leadership Dalton. I served on the board of the Women's Crisis Center. Any number of other, I'm drawing a blank right this second, but I've been involved in all kinds of civic organizations. Rotary right now, I'm a member of Rotary. I've been a member of Rotary for, I don't know, 18, 20 years, something like that. So, and working with the programs that they do.
Okay, Sherry, you got 2 minutes for your closing statement.
All right, thank you. I want to thank the Republican Party for hosting this forum. It's been my privilege to be your probate judge for the past 7 years. People ask me, why do you want to be probate judge? And like most people, I want to spend my life giving back to my community, making a contribution, and using the talents that God has given me. As a young lawyer, I thought probate was about the property and stuff that people leave behind when they die. Over my 30-year history, I've discovered that it's not about the stuff, it's about the people. That's what's the most important thing. Death and mental incapacity come to all ages, races, and social standings. It basically comes to all of us. These people need compassion. That's what they all have in common, and that's what I try to give them. I enjoy helping people that are hurting. It's no wonder that so many people who come to my office are overwhelmed. The probate code is arcane. Many times it leads to a money puzzle. God's given me the talent to lead people through the legal and financial mazes that present themselves. I majored in accounting at Emory University, and I shared top honor graduate with a classmate of mine at the University of Georgia School of Law. I graduated in the top 10% of my class, and I was on law review. In addition to estates, it's my duty to issue gun permits. I take the Second Amendment seriously, not because I learned about the Second Amendment in law school, but because I've lived that. I've had a gun permit since I've been eligible. I know that people that come to my office with mental issues shouldn't have a gun. That's why I take every gun permit application seriously. It's the duty of the court to ensure that every citizen enjoys their right to keep and bear arms, but not to give those permits to those people that shouldn't have them. In all manners that come before me, it's my goal to show mercy to the hurting and justly resolve disputes. 3,000 years ago, the prophet Micah put it this way: do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. That's what I try to do in probate court every day. And I would appreciate your vote on May 24th so I can continue using the talents God has given me to help the citizens of Whitfield County.
Thank you, Sherry.
I'm going to walk through this a little bit. Try not to get feedback already.
All right. Mr. Carpenter, what do you feel is the most important change you can affect as a representative?
You know, as I looked at both those questions that you're going to ask tonight, they look very similar. But I'm going to say this. I think the most important issue we have in the state of Georgia is economic development. And I think of the two candidates in here, I have the most experience in that field and the most to offer this community. I have been involved heavily with our chamber for the last 10 years. I've been involved in the Georgia Chamber of Commerce through the Leadership Georgia program. I have operated numerous small businesses in numerous communities around this state. I majored in finance at the University of Georgia. So I think those things, and I also served on the Downtown Development Board and our Travel and Visitors Bureau. So I have a lot of experience in economic development, and I think that I can take that down to the state level.
Carpenter, as voters now consider you for the position of public trust, what prior civic involvement and efforts have you served a part that you feel qualifies you for this office that you're running for?
Well, I went over a couple of them just then, but of course the Downtown Development Authority, the Travel and Visitors Bureau. I've spent time on working with our Chamber of Commerce. I've been involved with the Boys and Girls Club. I've been involved with the Friendship House. If you name it, I've got a hand in it in this community. I like to serve this community, and I like to help this community. And so I've spent literally the last 15 years of my life doing everything I can to help this community.
Mr. Carpenter, you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. I think my closing speech is about a minute. You never know when you get to these things how long your closing is going to be. But, so my name is Casey Carpenter, and I'm asking for your vote for Georgia State House, District 4. I look around the room and I see many of you guys. We've seen you for the last 2 or 3 months. But there's a couple new folks, so I'll do a little bit of history. I was born and raised in Whitfield County, graduated from the University of Georgia, then came back home and got into the family restaurant business. I've been serving you at the Oakwood Cafe for the last 12 years. My wife and I, Julie, have 4 children, Camp, Duncan, Sadie, and Ellis, and we attend Rockbridge Community Church. I'm going to throw you a curveball tonight, though. So I normally talk about my campaign. I normally talk about the passion and the opportunity and less government. But tonight I want to talk to you about some experiences on these boards we talked about. For the past 10 years, I've served on a lot of boards in this community. And there's one thing that's constant about every board that I've been on. They are looking for my generation to take a leadership role. So I stand here tonight and I accept that challenge. It's time that my generation invest in this community and this state. I'm no longer going to sit on the sidelines and let other people control my children's future. So I ask you tonight to pass the torch. I ask you tonight to see my passion to serve this community, and I ask you to put a carpenter in the house. Thank you.
Good evening. It has been a true honor for me to be able to serve as your District 4 representative for the last 4 years. I take that job very seriously. It means that I am responsible to 53,000 people in the district before, and make myself available for them to help them in any way I can with issues that they have, any part of the state government. And my main message is that experience matters. I've been successful in moving up to some leadership positions. I am vice chair of game fishing parks. And here's a little economic development factoid. Anglers and hunters in the state of Georgia spend $5 million a day. That's the economic impact that we have. And then I'm vice chair of an appropriations subcommittee for human resources, which covers a lot of behavioral health issues, elderly care issues, veterans department. And those have been two leadership positions that I've looked up to and been very proud of, and work really. I'm a community pharmacist. Along with my father, we had an independent community pharmacy that we ran for 50 years, and I still serve the community as a pharmacist. Here, I've been a pharmacist in the community for more than 40 years, and very proud of that. And it's just service to people. If people trust you with their medications, they've got to have trust in you as a representative.
All right, Bruce. In your opinion, what is the most important issue facing our district, and what will you do to help?
I've said this before, as one of 4 pharmacists in the House, I see the biggest deterrent we've got to a quality workforce in this state is a drug problem. You can ask any employer in this town, if they're going to hire, if they've got 5 positions to fill, they may have to screen 50 people to find 5 people that can pass a drug test. And I think that as a community, we need to come together. You pick up the paper, every arrest reported in the paper usually involves drugs in one way or another, less than an ounce of marijuana or heroin epidemic, which is here. 78 people in the United States today die of opioid overdoses. And what I would like to see is for our community to come together to address that problem with enhanced education. I'm on the Northwest Georgia Healthcare Partnership board, and the Healthcare Partnership is taking this on as one of their projects to get an enhanced education program so we can help to prevent some of the ravages that the drug abuse problem has in the community.
Mr. Rogers, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
As I mentioned, I'm on the Northwest Georgia Healthcare Partnership Board, and I have also served as chairman of the Whitfield County Board of Health. Been on the Board of Health probably more than 18 years, and I'm very proud of our health department. We do a lot of good things here as far as the protection of the health and safety of the citizens of our county. And I would like to use some of the resources from the state and bring those back to the community and find communities that have had successful drug education programs and replicate those here and come together, because it is destroying our children, it is destroying families. And I've worked very closely with the Drugs and Narcotics Agency over my 4 years in the House. And my main message is that experience matters. And I feel like I've been an effective legislator. And every vote I take, I say, what is this doing for my people at home? What is it doing either to them or for them? I went into legislative council the day before the end of this last session, and they had a whiteboard in there, and it said 9,123 bills and resolutions that they had offered and adopted in our biennial in the 15-16 legislative session.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Experience matters. Thank you.
What is the most important issue you want to focus on as a representative?
I'm coming back to the same old, education. We have a bad problem with education in Georgia. And you don't have to have an educational degree to know that we need to do something to help our students in Georgia. It started out when I was worried about Common Core. I've been to many meetings in Atlanta talking about Common Core. And I've worked with groups at different times on Common Core mess. I've even talked to one who wants me, when I'm elected, to help them co-sponsor some bills that they're working on this summer. So I'm already preparing to win.
Okay, your second question is this bill. As voters now consider you for a position as a public trust, what prior civic involvement and other efforts have you served a part which you feel best qualifies you for the office you seek?
This is home. I have always lived here, so I raised my 3 children here. I was active with them in Scouts. I was the den mother. I took care of the roster for all their sports activities. I was active in Kiwanis. I've done PTA. I've done anything pertaining to children. I'm a member of Christ Church Presbyterian, and I was a deacon, and I served on pastoral care. And they've still given me pastoral care, so I manage that. Maybe if I'm elected, I can hand it to somebody else.
You have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Okay. I'm Sarah Fields, and I want to go to Atlanta, and I want to represent you in Atlanta. It's time for change. We need somebody else down there. And I consider being a representative as being customer service. I had a business of my own for over 30 years where I was in advertising, and if I didn't give my customers good customer service, they were gone. That meant I didn't have any more income from them. I consider the people of Whitfield and Murray County my customers, and I will represent you. I will be attainable. If you need me, you can always call me. And I'd appreciate it if you would go to the polls and vote for me, May the 24th.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Ridley, what is the most important issue you want to focus on as a representative?
I think the most important issue that we face in the state and the nation is our freedom of religious liberty that's bad under fire by the governor and by the president. You can want education, you can want industrial development. This country was founded by people that were leaving for their religious liberty. They wanted to worship their own God. They wanted their own, that's what the whole war was talking about. We can loan all we want to, but if we don't have our religious liberty, y'all, we are setting up for a bad deal down the road. Because once they take that, what else is there to take? I mean, if you get over that hurdle, then everything else is just going to be a simple thing to take away from.
Okay, Mr. Ridley, as voters now consider you for a position of the public trust, what prior civic involvement and other efforts have you set apart which you think best qualifies you for the post you're running?
I was in banking from the 2000 until 2012. So I was there during the good times when we was all making money, and we all had new trucks, and the bad times when we was all selling houses and selling trucks. And I think you'll talk to any customer that was mine, and they'll tell you that I was always the first one to come to and work with them. I was also the first one to tell them when something wouldn't work. And sometimes I lost moms over that because they went to another bank because somebody told them what they wanted to hear. But they always came back to me and told me, I wish I'd listened to you. You told me not to do that, and I did it anyway, and that's what happened. That, and I've got 4 kids. We've got 3 grown, and we've got one that moved in with us in July. We picked up the adoption process with that just turned 14. I've lost my take a teenager, but he's a good kid, and that's something that the Lord wants us to do. During that time with our children, I coached soccer and baseball and that kind of stuff. And when you got 15 mamas and daddies that all think their kids are pro, that'll teach you real quick how to deal with people and how to satisfy them and tell them, hey, your kid's good, but he can't play all the time. And I think that'll help me down there because, let's face it, what's down there right now is about the same thing going on out there.
Mr. Ridley, you have 2 minutes for your question.
All right. Like I said, my name is Jason Ridley. I grew up in Berry County. My wife, we've been married for 16 years. We dated all the way through high school. I always say she married down and I married up. But we've always been here. Our kids go to school in Whitfield County. I've always worked in Whitfield County. My wife's always worked in Berry County school system, except for a little while she worked in Whitfield County. I asked you to go for this reason. Casey kind of stole my thunder there a little bit that I was using. Generations change. Thomas Jefferson said that every 20 years, the laws need to be changed to not connect the past generation to those. And it's time now, we've all got families, we've all got kids, even your kids have got grandkids. It's time now for somebody that understands the heartaches you go through or how things are tied and understands what our kids need in our future for our children. And I know you hear it 100 times, but without our children, there is no future. And that's a fact. And it's just the same as our religious freedom. But I asked you to send me down there for one simple reason. I've got 4 kids. And they think their dad's the best thing that ever happened. And they trust me to always provide for them. And a few years ago, I was almost killed in a four-wheeler accident. And to see those little faces come into the hospital there for 2.5 months while I lay there and never give up any hope in me, it proved one thing to, I get a little shook up on it. It proved one thing to me growing up. I went through some heartaches, I went through some time. And growing up, I didn't have a lot of people care about me and want me to do something. So that instilled in me in my life to serve not only my children, but also serve people of our community. And let's face it, this job is not something to get rich on. They pay $17,000 a year. I'll be spending 2 months away from my children down in Atlanta with some of the roughest people you've ever seen. But that's what I feel like I need to do, and I feel like that's what's got to do for us. I'm passionate about it, and we need somebody down there that'll fight. And my last name's Ribbon, and I'm fighting across my hat. One last thing, everybody's got to support me, and I just want to say this: vote for me on May the 24th. On May 24th, Jason Ribbon, the workforce, not your force.
Thank you, What is the most pressing issue to the people of our district, and what will you do to help that is different from your previous term, sir?
I think we've heard rather loudly and clearly tonight that economic matters are the most pressing problem throughout our county. And I think that's true that we have a lot of people who lost jobs. I can't say that I'm going to do anything particularly different because I think in the House we try very hard to be aware of that problem. Because it's not just in Whitfield County. There are actually counties that are worse shape than we are here. In the House, we created a special committee to deal with small businesses, to try and eliminate some of the regulation that is a hindrance to them. But when I think about that, I also keep in mind that for every person, what's most critical to the problem is different. A pastor, religious freedom would be first on his mind for somebody like Phil, who's got a parent that's in hospice. Medical issues are the most critical thing. So we can't go down there and just think about one issue. We have to be prepared to deal with all of them.
As the voters now consider you for a position of public service, what prior civic involvement and or efforts have you served hard which you think qualifies you for the office that you're seeking?
My career, which we've already heard about, that I was an educator. I had leadership roles in that as an assistant principal, and superintendent. I've served on a number of committees and groups here in our county: United Way, Rotary, Georgia Project, which worked hard to try to help our students with the English language problems that we had. I was a scoutmaster years ago. I had to stop and think about some of these things from 40, 50 years ago. I was on Health. I was on, let's see, I was serve on the board of Georgia United Credit Union, so I've been working with the credit union for about 15 years now.
2 minutes for your closing statement.
I'll try to get that in under 2 minutes. I know it's warm in here. I appreciate the opportunity for us to be here tonight. I am not a lifelong resident of Whitfield County, but next year will make 50 years that I've been here, so it's been the most important part of my life. Whitfield County is my home because I chose to make it that. I chose to raise my children here. I have 2 sons. Sherry and I have 2 sons. Sherry and I have been married 29 years in October. They asked me that question in the paper earlier, and I had to do some quick math. 29 years. We have 5 grandchildren, and I am concerned about what happens to them and what opportunities they will have. I've worked hard through my career to try to be making life better for those who are going to come after me. For each and every child that has been a part of the classes that I taught and the schools that I've worked with, that is important to me. I will ask, as we each have, ask for your vote on May 24th, and I would look forward to continuing to work hard for you.
Thank you, Mr. Peasley. Mr. Bethel? Do you support term limits for the state Senate and the House? Why or why not?
I don't support term limits for the state legislature. I do for the executive branch. I think it's an appropriate conversation in Congress, the nature of the way Congress works. The reason is 2 policy reasons and a practical reason. First, because we have a part-time legislature, we're only there for 40 days out of the year. Term limits would have the effect of aggregating power into the bureaucracy and into the executive branch. It would make the governor stronger because they could wait out folks during their terms in office, which makes no sense. The practical side of it is, I've been there 6 years and I'm already over halfway up the seniority chart. So we don't seem to have a problem with that in the state legislature like we do in Congress. And so for those reasons, I don't think it's a problem that we need to go in and change the constitutional structure that we inherited from our forefathers.
Mr. Bethel, as voters now consider you for a position of public trust, what prior civic involvement and other efforts have you served a part which you think best qualifies you for the position you're seeking, sir?
Well, given our location, I will have to point out that my life membership in the Whitfield Murray Historical Society is clearly something that I need to mention. In all seriousness, that is something I'm proud of, and I'm proud of this location. I've heard people mention that they've never been here. Our history and our roots should be important to us. I have been involved in the United Way. I've been involved in the FCA of Whitfield and Murray Counties, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, for many years. I served on the City Council in Dalton. I've been on the Trade Center Authority Board, now the Convention Center Authority Board, and other sorts of activities like that. It's been mentioned here tonight, my greatest passion of community service is coaching youth athletics. There is nothing like watching young people work for something and then achieve it. And the only thing that maybe rivals that is when you're sitting somewhere at a high school basketball game or some sort of public event and somebody you coached years before comes up and gives you a hug, and that may come close.
Okay, Mr. Bethel, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you, Patrick. I want to continue serving this community in the state Senate for the reasons you've heard. This crowd, you've heard the speeches and reheard the speeches. I don't have to repeat those things for you, I expect. What I'll tell you is I believe, because Jim and Tricia Bethel raised me that way, and many of the teachers, some of whom are here, and bosses, some of whom are here that I've had in this community raised me that way. I believe that you are called to serve where your skills are. I believe that my education, public high school graduate here in our community, graduate of the university system, the public university system in our state, and our graduate degree, law degree from the University of Georgia. give me a unique skill set and knowledge base. And then my work in the community, having worked in the manufacturing world, having worked in the public services, professional services arena, give me a unique skill set to be able to interact with different parts of our community. And then my interaction at the social level, the issues that we talked about, serving in those aspects of our community, give me the opportunity to represent the totality of the community, which is important. I will not accept the notion that we should be divided, us against them, by race, class, color, creed. That is not who we are called to be as people, as Americans, and as a matter of faith. And so I believe that's what I try to offer and will continue doing so.
Mr. Bethel?
For those who don't know, my name is Connie Goodson. I'm running for District 54 Senate also. I'm a wife, mother, grandmother. I'm not a politician. I am just trying to assure that my children and your children have a bright future in this state. And the current status quo is not a future that my children are going to succeed in. And the majority of children in this age are not going to. My favorite part about going last is when you get up here and you got all these other candidates come up here, the hopefuls, and talking about why they're running. We're all running for the same reasons. So it's not just me. We're all tired of the overtaxation, the overregulation, and flat out over-government of our day-to-day lives. And with this many candidates, not only in this district, this town, but in all the districts across Georgia, it's obvious that there is a movement going on because people have flat out had enough.
Mrs. Goodson, what do you feel is the most important issue facing the people of our district, and how will you help to affect change today?
Well, if I had to sum up the number one problem, because there's so many issues whenever you're out here door knocking and meeting thousands and thousands of people over the last few months. Everybody's got their own problems with the government, but if you sum it up in one simple term, it's the fact that we simply do not have a voice. Our voice is not properly heard. We are not properly represented. And I promise you, once elected, my sole job is to be a representative of the majority of the people. Whether I agree with them or not, my job is that.
All right, Mrs. Goodson. As voters now consider you for a position at the public's trust, what prior civic involvement and/or efforts have you served in Florida that you think best qualifies you for the office you seek?
Oh, Lord. Well, like I said, I am a wife and mother and grandmother, and whenever my children were younger, at any given time, we may have 15, 20 kids piled up in the living room for the weekend because somebody needed a babysitter or they were going to places that children just shouldn't be at. And so I bring them on, and I was a Girl Scout troop leader for many years. I was a cheerleading coach for many years. I was assistant Boy Scout coach. I volunteered for Red Cross, United Way, all them events. You don't get a feather in your hat for, picking up street on the side, or garbage on the side of the street, or cleaning up in the rivers. And I've even volunteered for all the animal shelters around, going and brushing the cats, because we found out that brushing the cats make them look more homely and putting carpet in their cages, and more cats are actually getting adopted. So I started spending a lot of my time doing that versus the other option in these shelters. And
2 minutes for your closing statement.
again, my name is Connie Goodson, and I'm running to be your voice. And I promise you, once elected, I will never have to tell you again that I want to be your voice, because you will flat out know it. Because every decision I make will be in the interest of the people.
You're welcome. Thank you.